I wish I didn't sit through this movie. Yes, I know pretty much everybody has probably done that joke at this point, but I don't care. So, Walt Disney Animation Studios' newest film, Wish. What else can I say about Disney that I haven't said in countless other videos? I mean, for fuck's sake, a few weeks ago I did an entire video talking about upcoming Disney movies and shows that will suck. Why this one wasn't on the list, I don't really know. I have no idea why I left this one off the list, because I knew this was gonna be pretty bad. Just the concept in general of, like, the origin story of the Wishing Star is stupid in its own right, and somehow it's even worse in practice. So, and a few days ago I talked about how this movie has been failing at the box office, and that was just based off the Wednesday and Thursday numbers. And it turns out the weekend numbers are even worse. Now, this is off of 5 days, from Wednesday to Sunday. So this isn't just a 3-day weekend numbers. It would probably look even worse if it was. This movie has made $31.7 million domestically, $17.3 million internationally, for a total of $49 million in 5 days. That's the kind of box office bomb we're dealing with. This is Strange World levels of bad. And just to put something in perspective, in that video, I estimated that the budget was probably a big $150 to $200 million. I looked up the budget, $175 to $200 million. I was right on the money. And in fact, I was being generous estimating the low would be $150. I was being generous with that, and turns out I was absolutely right. And you know why I was absolutely right? Because the studio's too goddamn predictable. Every single one of their movies is overinflated with their budget. It's not like it's a grand prediction to predict every single one of their movies is going to be $200 million. It wasn't like an off-the-walls prediction that I made. It was the predictable budget because Strange World, $180 million. Lightyear, $200 million. This movie, $200 million. Why do they I keep asking this question. For the past year and a half now, I've been asking this question. Why does Disney feel the need to pump so much goddamn money into these animated features? And again, Illumination has made their movies usually have a budget anywhere between $60 and $95 million. And they honestly look perfectly fine. In fact, I'd honestly say they look better than most Disney movies. This one tries to imitate the storybook style that Puss in Boots: The Last Wish did very well, but it doesn't do it particularly well. I don't understand how this movie was $200 million. Can somebody please explain that to me? Alright, so I've talked enough about the money. Let's talk about the movie itself. I don't wanna. So, the basic plot of this movie is this teenager. I don't remember her name because I don't remember anybody's name in this, actually. Except the villain. I think his name is Magnifico or something. It's supposed to be like Magnificent, but it's like Magnifico. Fuck it. I'm just gonna call him I'm just gonna call him the villain. I'm not gonna remember anybody's name in this because honestly, who cares? So she's trying to become the apprentice of the king, essentially, because he is also a very powerful sorcerer. So she's trying to become his apprentice. And the big backstory of this movie is that he has the power to grant wishes. Well, I think it says it's once a month, he will grant someone's wish. When they turn 18, they get to make a wish, and every month he'll choose somebody's wish to grant. And one of her big motivations is that her father, of course, is dead, because this follows every cliche that even old or new Disney has gone through, but we'll get back to that maybe. I don't know if I'll really go too deep into it, but it will come up again later, probably. But she wants to help grant his wish. And we'll get more into detail with that in a second in the non-spoiler section, because this movie is still pretty fresh in theaters, even though I don't think it'll last very long. It will probably last a few more weeks and then just die out and go to Disney+, but it is pretty fresh in theaters, so I'll keep this spoiler section separate. Well, I guess I'm kind of spoiling the plot. You know what, who cares? It's just a backstory, it doesn't matter. But, you know what? fuck it. This entire thing's just gonna be spoilers, because this movie, nobody gives a shit about this movie. Clearly, the box office numbers have shown it, so I'm not gonna bother with holding off on spoilers. So she wants to grant his wish, and essentially his wish is he wants to basically inspire people, make a good impact on the world, or something of those, like, they phrase it differently, but essentially that's what it is. And the big drawback and what ends up causing all these events to unfold is because the king refuses to grant that wish because it's too vague. And because he doesn't know what he's going to inspire. He could inspire a revolution to overthrow him, or to inspire, is essentially something like that, like essentially create Antifa. And he doesn't want to risk something like that. And I'm gonna be perfectly honest, he's absolutely right. Like, I get the wish of just wanting to have a good impact on the world. That's a good wish to have, but if you don't really know how you want to do that, it's gonna cause an issue, especially in something like this. So, honestly, the villain of the movie, and yes, he's obviously the villain, the freaking poster, I'm looking at the poster right now, it literally has him like this over the poster. You know he's the villain, and even if you haven't seen a single piece of marketing for this, the second he shows up on screen, you know he's the villain. So, yeah, that's what causes all these events to unfold. She makes a wish on essentially the wishing star, which turns into this little anthropomorphic star that looks like the one from the Super Mario Brothers movie that was in jail with Luigi. And it's really creepy looking. It's not cute. It's disturbing to look at. By the way, she of course has this little sidekick here, a goat, and it's fucking annoying. And it ends up talking at some point. I don't really know who plays the goat. It sounds like Patrick Stewart, but I don't think it is. You know what? I'll look it up while I'm talking. So, essentially, yeah, that's the basic plot of this movie. It's Alan Tudyk. Of fucking course it's Alan Tudyk. He's in every Disney anime. Disney must have some dirt on Alan Tudyk or something, because he is in fucking everything they make. Or maybe he lost a bet. I don't know. But that's the big setup for this movie, and it's not interesting in the slightest. And then the villain pulls the same thing that the Marvels did, where it goes from being a sympathetic character, because essentially his backstory is that his town and his family were killed by, not Ravagers, that's the thing from Guardians of the Galaxy, like, you know what I mean, like, people, like, invaded his town and basically killed everybody, killed his parents at least, and he wishes that he had his magic at the time, so he could have prevented all that, and that's part of the reason why he grants people's wishes, so they're able to live their best life. They don't have to go through the same kind of thing he did. That's a great motivation for a villain. Actually, that'd be a good motivation for the hero, which is exactly the point I'm trying to get to here, is that the villain isn't really the villain for the first hour, maybe? This movie's really short. I think it barely cracks the hour-and-a-half mark, so maybe the first 45 minutes, he's not even a villain. It's just the annoying teenager main character is just kind of an idiot. And then he just like the Marvels, he turns into a power-hungry bad guy at the drop of a hat. Keep thinking I'm here. I don't know what that was. So, I don't even know if the mic picked that up, but anyway, back to what I was talking about. He turns to a villain at the drop of a hat, because all of a sudden, after she makes a wish on the wishing star, it does some weird magical bullshit that, the star, goes around and grants, and is able to grant wishes, which apparently for every animal is the ability to talk, which I don't think that would actually be the case, but that's besides the point. And he sees this as a threat to his power. So all of a sudden, he goes from being a sympathetic character that you understand what he's doing to a power-hungry asshole at the drop of a hat, just like the villain in the Marvels. I'd say it's done a little better here than it was in that movie, but that's not a high bar to clear. The villain in that movie was pretty bad. And then essentially the second half of this movie is just, it's terrible. Like, the entire movie's terrible, really. It's really, really bad. But it gets even worse, and there's an obvious, I don't know if it's quite obvious, I don't know how many people have talked about this, I haven't actually seen any reviews for this movie, but it's glaringly obvious, at least to some degree, they wanted to have a girl power message for this movie, because main character, even though she's an idiot and causes a bunch of issues, she's seen as the big hero, and the male king sorcerer, he's the one who gets corrupted by all this power, and then the queen becomes the sole leader after throwing him in jail, and all of her friends, like all of her male friends, are either idiots or backstabbing douchebags. So it's obvious what this movie's trying to do. It's more woke garbage out of Disney. I mean, we all expected this, but it's not as bad as, like, Mulan. If any of you saw that live-action Mulan, first of all, I'm sorry. And secondly, it was glaringly obvious that it was just a girl power movie, because she doesn't have an arc. Her arc is learning to not control her powers, and they gave her some magical chi to make her stronger than everybody else. And then they tried to make us feel sympathy for this witch that works for the guy, and then saves her after... I saw this in a comment on that video, where and in another video too, where she saves Mulan because she's impressed with how much of a girl boss she is. That's essentially what happened. She had no turnaround whatsoever, just all of a sudden, I'm gonna save this person I tried to kill 3 minutes ago. It's not quite to that degree, but it's still pretty glaringly obvious. The comedy's not funny. The songs, I guess, are fine. They're nothing spectacular, but they're okay. My main problem with the songs is you could cut them and not miss a thing. Mainly with musicals, they either need to be integral to the story to the point where if you cut them, you would miss quite a bit, or they need to be entertaining. They're not entertaining. In fact, the opening number kind of rips off the opening to Encanto, which is another Disney movie I didn't really like all that much. And then the rest are just whatever. Like, especially the second song when they're in the room with all the wishes, you could probably cut this song and not miss much, because he already explained his backstory, he explained his reasons for doing this, and then he just sings about it just to extend his point, or more accurately, to extend the runtime. So, this was obviously bad. It wasn't... I'd say it's probably worse than I was expecting, because I was expecting this to just be a boring animated movie. It ended up being a lot worse, because, again, it has Disney's signature woke trash in it. It rips off a bunch of other Disney movies, or I guess references other Disney movies, but does a piss poor job of it. Hell, there's even a rabbit that's basically Thumper, like he does the little leg thing. But that's not interesting to me. This is the same thing I had with The Flash. I'm not going to watch a movie, I'm not going to enjoy a movie just because you have a bunch of references or cameos from something we recognize. That's why I hate Disney's Star Wars so much, because that's what they bank on. That's why I did an entire video on that Anakin episode of Ahsoka, because everybody was sucking that episode's cock, and it was just jangling keys in front of you. Hey, look, there's Anakin. Hey, look, there's Captain Rex. Hey, look, this is the Clone Wars, just to get people to watch, just to boost the ratings, which it didn't work, obviously, but that's what pisses me off about modern Disney, and that's what pisses me off about the fact that they're making 2 more Frozen movies. Tells me once more that they are creatively bankrupt. Fuck this movie. God, I don't know if I could give it an F, but this movie pissed me off so much, I kind of want to give it an F. Oh, I'm very torn. Fuck it, this movie gets an F. I hate this. Fuck this movie. I'm done talking about it. So that's all I got for Wish, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.